Which image would you choose? This one or this one? This or this? This one or this? I don't think it's even close. Most of you would choose the second image in each pair, the more powerful one. But when you're out shooting, you usually end up with something close to the first. Why? What's the difference? It's actually pretty simple, but it's the difference between an average photo and a powerful one. Now, if you think that gear has anything to do with it, then you're already completely off. So then you might say, well, the composition is better. And of course, composition plays a part, but it's not the major thing. And I know that many of you will say, it's talent. It's as simple as that. A better photographer made the better photo. You've probably heard many times something along the lines of, well, he's got the eye. And that makes it sound like some photographer is anointed, like some people are just chosen and they have this special talent. But look, in all of these cases, both photographers noticed the same scene. So if something catches your attention, then you already have the eye. The difference is what you do next. One sees the scene, the photo, but stops right before it becomes something more. The other sees the same thing, recognizes what matters, and follows through. A weak photo feels like the photographer just turned up, saw something interesting, and snapped it. Like, oh yeah, that looks nice, click. But a powerful photo, it feels like the photographer saw the potential and went further to do something about it. One is reactive and the other one is intentional. That's the big difference. Intent. But intent on its own isn't enough. It has to be directed at something. I'll show you exactly what that looks like because intent doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it's as simple as changing your angle or waiting for the right moment, for the right expression. But other times it could involve changing the situation a little bit of what's in front of the camera. Here's something that might surprise you. The first, the lesser of the comparison images, they weren't even made by a human photographer. I used AI to recreate the kind of work that I see all the time when people send me their photos for critique. They all have the same pattern. Something caught your eye, you sensed the potential, you felt that there was a photo there, but you didn't follow through. You didn't move in closer, you didn't change the angle, you didn't wait, you didn't put in that extra effort. You stopped right before the photo became something. In all three of these images, I didn't stop. I followed through. And they have something else in common. They're built around something that you definitely already noticed, but most likely don't fully use. Yet, I hope. Visual cues. I talk about them all the time. They're the elements in the image that mean more than what they literally show. Very often, they're the reason that you make the photo in the first place. Here, it's not just about men with a net and a slightly blurred truck behind them. They're fishermen with their tool for survival, their livelihood, even slight motion blur. That's a visual cue for movement. Here, it's not just a sea lion skeleton on a beach, the jagged rocks, the emptiness. All of these are visual cues for the harshness of the place, a place where survival is hard. And this one. On one level, it's just a boy climbing a tree, but look at his expression, the focus, the slingshot in his mouth. These are visual cues that hint he's hunting. He's in nature, living, surviving in it, working with it. The problem is not that you fail to notice these things. Usually you do. You spot the powerful stuff, but you don't build the photo around it. That's where most images fall apart. And when you turn to YouTube, you mostly get stuff like learn to see, develop an eye, learn to tell a story, but how do you actually do that? Well, for me, it's all about intent and visual cues. When you start to understand what actually matters in a scene, and then you intentionally build your photo around that, everything changes. More atmosphere, more story, more emotion. That's where the power comes from. So let me break it down exactly how those images that I showed you in the beginning come together through intent and visual cues. The students with their prayer tablets. The intent that I keep talking about actually started before I made this photo. I was already documenting these Islamic schools in Mauritania, and what struck me immediately was the intensity of these kinds of scenes. These very young children, completely absorbed, reciting with a seriousness that felt far beyond their age. I already started to develop a general idea of what I was looking to capture. Then, once I was in this particular classroom, the visual cues that I wanted to build this image around became very clear. The expressions, the concentration, the tablets with the Quranic text, the almost competitive energy in the chanting, in their faces. That's the photo, and most people will understand that and they will capture it. But with something like this, there's obviously a big difference. Most people don't build the image around the key visual cues. But if the photo is about all of these things that I just mentioned, then we have to really focus on them. I cannot shoot this from a distance. If I do, I lose the expressions. I lose the intensity. I lose the photo. So when I'm making the photo, I'm just thinking visual cues, what are the most important, the key visual cues, and how do I focus on what actually matters? The faces, the concentration, the tablets, the light. That side light from the window gives the scene its drama. It kind of raises the volume on everything. And now my intent becomes something practical, something that I can act on. I ask the teacher if I can come in close. I get down on the floor with the students on their eye level. I tell everyone to continue as normal, not to give me any attention. And then I make multiple frames, wanting and hoping for some strong expressions. Everything in the frame had to support what the photo was about. So that's why I came in so close and framed, pretty tightly. So just seeing the moment is not enough. You have to go further with it. You have to build the image around what matters. This year, this photo became part of an award-winning portfolio for Travel Photographer of the Year, and it only worked because the photo was built with intent around those visual cues. Most people would have made something here. The scene screamed to be photographed. They just wouldn't have gone far enough with it. And if you want to go deeper with this is the same approach behind images that have won major awards. I built an entire program about visual cues. There's a lot more to it than I can fit into one video, and there's even an AI visual cues coach to help you see what you're doing right and where you're missing things. You can check it all out in the description. Now, this is a pretty familiar situation for many of you. You see something like this on the street and you make this kind of photo. Most people think that they did a great job, and it's not bad. There's definitely something here. The girl sweeping, the light. To notice this means that you have the eye, you have a certain level of sensitivity. But then think about the visual cues and ask yourself, what is the photo really about? Right now, it is just a girl sweeping. The vast majority of photographers are capable of making this image, and they actually feel satisfied. The real question here is, can this become more? On the street, there's almost always more. What's happening around her? Who else is moving through the scene? How is the light interacting with everything else? In this version, the subject hasn't really changed, but now multiple things come together. The pilgrims moving through the frame, that interaction, they're looking at her. Now there's a relationship and there's a clear design to the image, a visual rhythm. This column, it gives you a sense of this place. The light and the shadow simplify everything, hide some distracting elements, and at the same time, they intensify the drama. Even the dust in the air starts to catch light. Now something is happening. Now it feels alive. Being intentional and not stopping was huge here. I didn't feel satisfied with the first version of this scene. I watched what was happening around her. I had a rough image in my mind and I gave it a chance to come to fruition, to materialize. That's what intent looked like here. And a powerful image is often just a few seconds or a few steps away. Most people actually never get there. They think that they already have it just because they noticed the visual cues, and that's a great start, but it's just not enough. If you do not build your photo around those key visual cues, your image will not have the impact that you think it does. This last image is where intent goes even further. I was photographing sulfur miners at Egan Crater. I like this example because it was just such a photographically rich situation. Back in those days, early in the morning, they used these flame torches to illuminate their way. During my first couple of days, I'd mentally flag the visual cues that felt the strongest to me and that had the most storytelling potential. The flame, the mountaintop, the baskets, that raw mood when the flame would illuminate their faces. And this is so key. Again, it's not that you don't notice these things, you do. But very few people ask the next question. Can I bring at least some of these visual cues into a single image, into something powerful? Because if you just react casually, you get something like this. A guy resting, no flame, another man just here, nice backdrop, decent composition, but that's all it is. The expression is weak, the moment just isn't there. This is exactly the kind of image that people send me and ask, why isn't this stronger? Because they remember those visual cues that caught their eye, but they didn't build the photo around them. It comes back to the same thing. There has to be real intent, and there's no real intent behind an image like this. But what exactly did intent mean here? In this case, I actually went further. I created the conditions for the photo. I got up early because I needed the darkness and the flame. I spent time with this guy beforehand. We'd built rapport. It had to be a collaboration. Again, I already had a rough idea of the image that I wanted. And because of this, when it was time for a smoke break after the climb, I made a suggestion where to have it. A spot in front of this mountain peak. I was ready for the shot. I even brought a tripod because back then really high ISO shooting, believe it or not, was not viable. I shot this at 1/25th of a second. Hence, I needed the tripod. Then once those key visual cues came together, I still had room to react. I caught this man just in time as he was walking away with the baskets over his shoulders. This is a nice detail hinting that this is what my main guy might be doing later. So because of my intent, all of the key visual cues that I wanted made it into this one single frame. The darkness of twilight, the baskets, the flame, and we ended up in the spot with a mountain peak backdrop. Great for evoking a sense of place. If you're noticing interesting scenes, things happening, but you're not ending up with the kinds of powerful images that you wish you were making, please don't start with this thing, that, oh, I just don't have the talent. Certainly do not waste your money on gear. There's a time and place for that, but that should never be the reason. The simple idea of visual cues and intent, as you've seen, changes everything. Because, well, this is the truth. You are noticing things that are worth photographing. You have the eye. You're not far off, but you're just not doing enough. Visual cues matter because they're everything that's worth photographing. Everything that actually communicates something. You just have to have a small mind shift to understand the significance of that. And intent is what gets you to follow through. Simply reacting or being casual about making a photo will lead to casual or very mediocre results. You've seen that intent exists on a spectrum. Sometimes it's just about coming closer, changing angle. Other times it's about waiting for the moment. And other times it's about already having a certain image in mind, being prepared, and sometimes even kind of helping the shot come into existence. Understanding visual cues and being intentional about them is the difference between noticing a potentially powerful photo yet ending up with something pretty uninspiring or mediocre, or actually ending up with a really powerful image. But getting it right in camera during the shoot is actually only part of the creative process, because you can still completely ruin your photo in the edit. If you want to see how that happens and how to avoid it, watch the video on the screen now.